Thank you, members. I would like to open this annual council meeting. Members are reminded that the normal housekeeping arrangements apply which have previously been referred to. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the council for live and subsequent broadcast and will be published on the council website for a minimum of 6 months. Agenda item 1, apologies. Chief Executive, will you read out the apologies received for this meeting?
Thank you, Chairman. We've received apologies from Councillor Norman Decent, Councillor Jackie Edwards, Councillor LJ Evans, Councillor David Flagg, Councillor Nick Geary, Councillor Cheryl Johnson, Councillor Marion Lepedovin and Councillor Kieran Wilson.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Chief Executive, can you report on any declarations of interest received?
None have been received, but the agenda includes a flowchart for members' guidance if they should wish to declare any interest.
Thank you, Chief Executive.
Councillors, I seek nominations for the election of Chair of the Council until the next annual meeting in 2023. Any proposers for nominees? Councillor Phillips.
I'd like to propose, please.
Please.
I'm delighted to propose Councillor Nigel Hedges, who is my ward colleague, to serve for another term as the BCP Chairman. He continually demonstrates integrity, caring and loyalty and much more. His aim is to unite councillors to work together for the benefit of residents and organisations across the conurbation of Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole. Councillor Hedges, I therefore propose that you are without doubt worthy of being re-elected tonight for a further term. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I'm more than happy to second the nomination for Councillor Hedges. Despite very trying times, he's been a fabulous representative of BCP Council from the Chair and outside of this chamber, and I believe he will continue to be. It takes a firm hand and no shortage of patience and poker face to control a rabble such as we politicians, and I believe he has done so in his term with humility and humour. He's a well-liked, well-respected member across the chamber, and I believe he will continue to be so in another year, weighed down by that chain. However, Councillor Hedges, please, for all our sakes, save your jokes for our quiz on Friday night. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Any other nominations? Councillor Slade?
Thank you. I would like to nominate Councillor Vanessa Ricketts to the position of Chair. I won't speak for very long given the late hour. I would just firstly like to say that I have absolutely nothing against Councillor Hedges, but I am absolutely of the opinion that we should return to the principle of this being an annual position and not something that rolls over. The renewal of Councillor Flagg's position was a one-off thanks to the ravages of COVID-19. Turning to Councillor Ricketts, whilst I recognise that she is a new councillor to this chamber, she has a lifetime of experience of chairing, running and understanding the way that council meetings work. That for no other reason, and she's a jolly nice lady, I think she would be a real breath of fresh air in the chair, and I think that we should have our first female chair of the council.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Phibbs?
Thank you, Chairman. I could certainly echo what the proposer has said. I'm delighted to second Councillor Vanessa Ricketts for Chairman of the Council. She has 30 years local government experience, and most of that has been spent in a council chamber. She's now a local government consultant, and she specialises in governance, investigations, and training councillors on a variety of subjects, including scrutiny, chairmanship skills, code of conduct, and risk management. I believe she would be a very effective and knowledgeable chairman. She's very well suited and qualified for this position. And I was also going to say, I think it would be really good to have our first female chairman. So I'm delighted to second the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phipps. As we have two nominees, I intend to give each of those nominees the opportunity to state their case as to why they should be chair. So if I could ask Councillor Hedges in the first instance to state his case. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I really don't know where to start. A year ago, I sat there and suddenly I was sitting there. And sometimes, I suppose you could say, the shield of naivety and the sword of stupidity can actually serve you quite well as an honest sounding board. And it wasn't something that I particularly sought, to be honest, although I am a desperate show pony. But I'm also very willing to learn. Certainly the 80% of the work that I've been afforded and honoured and privileged to conduct across BCP has been an absolute eye-opener, making me realise how truly important this chairmanship role is. Yes, chairing the council. Yes, I've done my best. I've learnt my way along. I'm supported supremely well by the Democratic Services team and everybody around me. I can't say that I'm the best chair in the world, but I do my best. But certainly from the role that I've started to create, I feel truly that a second year would give me an opportunity, like the old-fashioned telephonist, you know, and the old, where they plug in all the cables. There's so much good work and brilliant stuff going on across BCP. And, you know, that chairman's role is really a great opportunity, gives you great traction and opportunity to make those connections. And that's why, solely for that reason, I would really like to retain the chair, if you have confidence in me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hedges. And Councillor Ricketts.
Thank you, Vice. Yes, I am new to this council. I've now been a councillor for a year, but as my proposer and seconder have kindly stated, I do have a lifetime of experience in local government, mainly in the council chamber. Scrutiny, code of conduct, governance are my specialities. I train in chairmanship skills. I am an independent. I have truly independent views, and I would promise to bring integrity and those independent views to this council. And I would want to try to build the working together that I was so promised when I was elected by the Conservative administration, that we would work together. And I'm not seeing that. And perhaps if we had an independent in the chair, the first woman perhaps, I would hope that we could build on that working together, and I could form a cohesive council to make sure that both Conservatives and UA would work together in harmony. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ricketts. As we have two candidates, we will now move to a paper vote. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. We have the results of the vote. The scores are Councillor Ricketts 27 votes, Councillor Hedges 39 votes. Therefore, I declare Councillor Hedges as chairman for the year to 23. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, members. I'm a bit emotional. Thank you so much for your confidence in me, and I will do my best, but maybe with another 100% effort. So thank you so much. Right, so it brings us to agenda item 3, election of the chair. No, you didn't turn the page. There's deja vu for you. Let's do that again. Right, thanks for turning the page, Vice Chair, for the moment. Right, agenda item 4, election of Vice Chair. Councillors, I seek nominations for the election of Vice Chair of the Council until the next annual Council meeting in 2023. Can we have a proposer, please? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just drain the water off my computer.
Comedy gold.
Okay, right. Chairman, I'd like to propose that Councillor Tony O'Neill be elected to the post of Vice Chair. Sorry. Since taking over as the Vice Chair in the middle of last year, Tony has shown he clearly has the... I'm sorry, I've lost it. Has clearly demonstrated the ability to continue to hold the post of Vice Chair. He has a deep understanding of the Constitution and knows the importance of the Constitution and how to make the meeting work and how to make the meeting flow. I have no hesitation in nominating Councillor Tony O'Neill as the Vice Chairman. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Could we seek a seconder, please? Councillor Dion.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would be happy to second my colleague in Penn Hill Ward, Tony O'Neill. He's spent time in this chamber. We've all heard him speak. He's spent a great deal of time as a Vice Chair, and I'll wholeheartedly second him. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dion. Do we have any other nominations for Vice Chair, please? No. Well, I shall declare that Vice Chair is Tony O'Neill. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your confidence, and I think at this time of night brevity is a skill and to be recommended, so I'll say very little. I would like to thank those who have voted for me and in so doing placed their trust in me being their Vice President for another year. It is my pleasure to support the Chairman, and I acknowledge my duty to support and to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is there to support the integrity and fluidity of debate. It is a guidebook to conduct and one which I take seriously, one which I learn more about with every council. I am both honoured and humbled that you again place your faith and trust in me, and I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So at this point, we're going to conduct the declarations. Thank you. So, if you want to read out from there to there. Well, you don't want me to read that at the same time. Yeah. I, Councillor Nigel Hedges, having been elected to the office of Chair of BCP Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly, faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
I, Councillor Tony O'Neill, have been elected to the office of Vice Chair of BCP Council and declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 5, review of the political balance of the council, the allocation of seats of committees to each political group, appointment of councillors to committees and appointments to outside bodies. I'll hand over to Mr. Jones, who's got the announcement.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Chairman. Through you, Chair. Members, you will have received, it's been published, a supplementary report detailing the political balance reports. Apologies for the delay in convening this meeting, but I was meeting with the group leaders, so that is available online or through the app. We have said on the agenda, Chair, if members need to read that, they can do, although I think we've got consensus with the political group leaders. So we got consensus with the political group leaders. So that report is the standard report that members will be familiar with. It sets out the political balance of the council. It sets out the allocation of seats to each political group based on that political proportionality. It then identifies the named councillors representing each of the committees by each political group. And I believe the wishes of the unaligned members are also reflected in that. There are some gaps in the identification of those names, bearing in mind the timescale that we had before this meeting. So the report asks that, or indicates that political group leaders be given until 12 noon on Friday to notify Democratic Services of any vacancies still within that chart. It then identifies the allocation of seats to outside bodies, and again that is balanced, so there's no imbalance in the proportionality on there, and again the allocation of seats to those again nominated by the political group leaders. Clearly it is, I'm very aware of the time this evening, Chairman, and maybe the political group leaders, if they have any issues, then they will identify, but that is published on the website. Those are the recommendations that I've just summarised. So it's over to you then, members, to debate, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any members wish to raise any particular points? Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Chair. Having met with the other group leaders, I have accepted the political balance as it stands. But I would just like to say that I think it is really suboptimal to have the official opposition largest group having a single seat on one of the scrutiny committees when there are 4 scrutiny committees, each with 6 members of the Conservative group. There should be 2 members of the Liberal Democrat group on each of them, and us having 3 seats on licensing and only 1 seat on place makes no sense at all. However, I have accepted that for the short term that is the best way to go, because I do not want to deny the other smaller groups the opportunity to be on those, but I feel very strongly that scrutiny committees should be available to the members of the opposition groups. After all, that is scrutiny. And not have us loaded in larger numbers into the quasi-judicial committees, for which there is really no benefit to us being. So I accept it, but I want it noted that I don't think it's an acceptable way forward.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Right, I now call upon Councillor Mellor, who I understand will propose the recommendation in the report.
Chair, happy to propose as summarised by Richard Jones. Thank you.
I now call upon Councillor Broadhead, who I understand wishes to second the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to second the report, although for the record I'm disappointed to hear the official leader of the opposition say that the statutory bodies are worthless to sit on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Broadhead. Any councillors wish to speak? You can speak up to 3 minutes. Please indicate. No. Thank you. Can we ask on this occasion to agree by consensus? Are we all agreed? All agreed. Thank you, members. Agenda item 6, calendar of meetings 2022-23 and 23-24. I now call upon Councillor Mellor, who I understand will propose the recommendations in the report.
Chair, very happy to propose them, and I believe Richard Jones is going to introduce the item as per the previous one.
Thank you, Councillor Mellor.
Through you again, Chairman. Just as an update, really, because of the decision that was made earlier this evening in relation to the overview and scrutiny functions, there needs to be a change to the recommendation B within that report. So just very quickly, the report appends a 2-year calendar of meetings. There are changes to the next year's schedule to address a number of issues that have come through the Constitution Review Working Group, also identifying periods of the pre-election in 2023, where we've reduced some of those number of meetings for non-regulatory meetings in that period. But the key issue is in relation to recommendation B, in that refers to the children's services and adult social care as being excluded from that process. Because of the change of the number of meetings, the calendar refers to 6 scheduled meetings of those committees. That needs to be changed. So can I request that recommendation B is altered to read other than to delete the words other than children's services and health and adult social care overview and scrutiny committees from that recommendation. That will then delegate to all the 4 committees to determine their schedule of meetings for the year when they look at their forward plans. So just to recap on that, that will mean that the first meetings, and again the report highlights this, the first meetings of each of the Overview and Scrutiny Committees will be as follows. Corporate and Community Overview and Scrutiny Committee, 19th of May at 6 p.m. Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee, 24th of May at 6 p.m. Health and Adult Social Care ONS Committee, 23rd of May at 6 p.m. and the Children's Services ONS Committee on the 7th of June at 6 p.m. And again, so just a reminder, the other meetings that are listed for health and children's will then be removed from that schedule and agreed by their first meetings.
Could I look for consensus on those suggestions, please? Agreed? Thank you. Now call upon Councillor Broadhead, who I understand wishes to second the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Delighted to second.
Any councillors wish to make any observations, debate? No? Shall we go to...
I thought we just agreed it's through consensus.
Yeah, I did. But,
Do it again now.
in this order. So, well, that was agreeing the alterations.
Everybody's happy with that,
So it's all agreed by consensus. Thank you. Agenda item 7, Members' Allowances Scheme 2022-2023. Ms Seiss, could I ask you to outline the dispensation for members to vote on their allowances, please?
Yes, certainly, Chairman. Councillors will remember that I have granted as Monitoring Officer dispensation to all councillors to vote on this item, despite the fact that you obviously have an interest in the outcome thereof. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Seiss. Richard Jones, please, if you could present the report.
Thank you, Chairman. So again, just a quick update. I'm not going to go through the report in detail, but again, a consequence of the decision that you made earlier this evening relating to Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So just to remind members, there is no proposed changes to the allowances at this point in terms of an increase. You made a decision previously that your allowances would be increased in line with the National Pay Award, Employees Pay Award. That has yet to be determined for 22-23. And therefore, the second recommendation in the report says that will be backdated to the 10th of May, the day of this council meeting, when that award is known. Just to remind you, you did take a break for last year. You didn't take that award last year in your allowances. However, just to go back to recommendation A, that will also need a change in the wording, which I will read out in a moment. This is the appendix sets out the allowances for the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny Board and an allowance for the chairs of Overview and Scrutiny Committees. You now have 4 committees, so if you could amend and again, it's up to members whether they change the allowances, but row J in Appendix 1 needs to be removed. So can I suggest that recommendation A is altered to read, subject to the deletion of row J, referring to the Overview and Scrutiny Board, the schedule of members' allowances as set out in Appendix 1 to the report be approved with effect from the 10th of May 2022. I need to just draw your attention, there is an increase of a chairman's allowance. The net increase of that allowance, because that's not budgeted for, so there will be a pressure on this budget, will be £5,143. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I now call upon Councillor Mellor, who I understand will propose the recommendations.
Very happy to propose as set out by Richard Jones. Thank you, Chair.
Now call upon Councillor Broadhead, who I understand wishes to second the recommendations in the report.
Again, happy to second the amended recommendations.
Thank you. Any councillors wish to speak? Any points? Can we move to consensus? Are all agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 8, questions from councillors. I'm obliged to keep this section of the meeting to 30 minutes in accordance with the Constitution. Supplementary questions are available for councillors to respond directly to the reply. The portfolio holder has afforded them. But these questions must be indeed questions, not statements, and emanate from the reply just given. I will stop any further dialogue if it does not bring further clarity directly to the issue and immediate subject matter of the original question. In addition, as previously agreed by the Council, the time limit for asking a question is 3 minutes. Councillor Slade, I understand you have a question to put on Councillor Mellor on the Poole Civic Centre and the vertical slice.
Thank you, Chair. Poole Civic Centre is due to be decommissioned later this month for staff and for works to commence on a vertical slice around the historic section of the building to create a new coroner's court, space for the mayoralty and for the Charter Trustees of Poole. The section was being isolated from the rest of the building so that the rest of the site could be remodelled or redeveloped, with suggestions including housing, hotel or community use. I recently became aware that the planned works on the vertical slice have been shelved as BCP Future Places is concerned that proceeding might compromise plans for the rest of the site and therefore no work will be undertaken over the summer. Can the leader please explain why neither the Mayor of Poole, the Civic Working Party for BCP, nor the Charter Trustees of Poole were consulted about this change of plan, and what the impact will be on the creation of committee rooms and the remodelling of the BCP Civic Centre at Bournemouth Town Hall, and on the likelihood of the coroner's service remaining in the conurbation if the coroner's court will not be vacating this space as planned.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor Mellor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Slade, for your question. In replying, please let me remind Councillor Slade of an email on this topic that I sent to members, including her, last week. Nothing in this work from Future Places changes the absolute commitment that the Charter Trustees and Mayoralty will ultimately be located as agreed in the Poole Civic, the vertical slice. So to be clear, no plans have been shelved. This piece of work is to assure us all of who would be the best anchor tenant, whether that be a service like the coroner or a lease to an anchor tenant like a quality hotelier. In addition, both the project team and Democratic Services have been working with the Poole Charter Trustees to find alternative accommodation and facilities for their use, something that would have had to have happened even were we imminently proceeding with the project to develop and retain the vertical slice. Plans to improve committee meeting space in BCP Civic Centre, including improvements to the council chamber, remain a priority. We are relocating the cabinet and other committee meetings to a dedicated space within the BCP Civic Centre annex. And in addition, a dedicated space for the coroner also in the Civic Centre annex, while ongoing works to the BCP Civic Centre progress.
Thank you, Councillor Mellor. Councillor Slade, do you have a supplementary?
I have no supplementary, but I would like to clarify that the question was submitted before the email was sent out and after several weeks of toing and froing, and it's very disappointing that the leader chose not to engage with anybody until after a question had been submitted to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Okay. Councillor Cox, I understand you have a question to put to Councillor Mellor on transformation staffing.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the increase in the transformation budgets in the current year includes over £7 million of staff costs, can the Cabinet member confirm what will happen to these staff members when the transformation programme is completed? Will they A, be made redundant, or B, be redeployed? Or C, is it a mixture of the two? And if it's A, have the staff been informed and the redundancy costs factored into the budget? And if it's B, were the redeployment costs factored into the medium-term financial plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Mellor.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you again, Councillor Cox, for your question. The answer simply is neither. As set out in the 22-23 budget report, the Council engaged both SIPFA consultancy and the external auditor to provide assurance that the recharge of staff working on the programme, who are therefore not available to support day-to-day or statutory improvement duties, accorded with the regulations on the flexible use of capital receipts regulations being used to funding transformation expenditure. This £6.7 million per annum recharge is only part of the time of numerous staff throughout the organisation and will vary as to who it relates to each year as the transformation programme moves through its various phases. Therefore, the MTFP assumes that the recharge is for the 3 years to the 31st of March 25, with the cost of these staff in their entirety being again borne from the General Fund from 25-26 onwards, at which point it is the intention to have delivered the full transformation savings programme totalling £50 million.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Cox, do you have a supplementary?
I don't, no, but just a comment that I think he means B.
It's just you have to ask a supplementary question.
Can I?
Emanating
the
from
supplementary question is, surely that must mean B. Is that the case? They're going to be redeployed?
Yes, please.
Yeah, my interpretation, the staff are already there, they're not being redeployed, they're in their current post. We have no plans to change those. We do have a plan to make £50 million to deliver the type of organisation that we all sat here and created BCP for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Second question, Councillor Cox. I understand you have a question to put to Councillor Miller on the dedicated schools grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, in the recent settlement by the HM government of the dedicated schools grant for the 9 local authorities facing the biggest challenge in respect of the deficits, these councils have only received circa 65% of the deficit. The council must cover the remainder of their unallocated reserves. Can the council member confirm that BCP has adequate budgeted unallocated reserves as at the end of this financial year to accept any offer that might be made?
Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you very much. And again, I thank my colleague for his question. The 9 local authorities referred to, and the previous 5, are part of what is referred to as a safety valve mechanism, which are the authorities with the highest current levels of absolute deficits on their dedicated schools grants, and they're required to be part of. BCP Council is not part of the safety valve mechanism, as we are not at the threshold of the safety valve authorities, but has instead been invited to be part of the Delivering Better Value, DBV, InSend programme. This DBV is a 3-year voluntary transformation programme for authorities with smaller but growing deficits and is linked to Ofsted for those authorities with written statements of action. Councils invited to be part of this programme will get access to resources to support the delivery of the reforms. The risk associated with this position has been set out clearly as part of the 22-23 budget report.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Cox? Well, members, I just have one announcement to make at the end here, and it doesn't appear in any notes anywhere. I'd like to draw your attention to Mrs. Karen Tompkins, who is retiring in July. So I think after 36 years of fantastic, so this is not her last, I know, this is not her last meeting, but this is her last full council meeting. So I think this at least deserves a long standing ovation, please. Please don't make her cry. That's my job, and a cream tea at the Norfolk. Members, it's been an interesting ride this evening. Your indefatigability has been remarked upon, and we do like vigorous debate. And Thank you so much for all your contributions this evening. So this is the point where I bang the gavel and say the meeting is now closed.